My name is Ben Cook and welcome to Angling Info.
Hi and welcome to Angling Info. Today we're at Bonhill Mill Fishery again and we're here with Chris Glover, and today what he's going to do is he's going to talk us through some baits and rigs and casting for using a bomb. So I'm going to step out behind the camera and Chris is going to take it from there.
Hello, my name's Chris Glover. I'm currently down at Bonhill Mill Fisheries where I've been for the last 2 hours just fishing the bomb. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk you through the kit that I actually use, some of the baits and how I sort of come around and approach these type of venues, especially these sort of bomb venues. It's a big lake, people tend to cast probably too far out than what they need to be, and we'll go through it all. First of all, I'm just going to go through the kit that I use. The rod that I use is the Browning Saphir 10-foot bomb rod. The reason why I choose these rods is, firstly, it's got a nice economical or ergonomical hand side of things, so you can get my fingers in it where I need to be. It's nice and light, it has a nice slim blank, and it has a full sort of power box action all the way through the rod, and it's a nice soft rod. What people tend to do is they'll tend to try and get a bigger rod if they're trying to catch bigger fish. Well, I sort of find that the lighter the rod, the more sort of softness on the rod that I've got, the better playing action I've got with the rod itself. Next then I'll go for the reel. As you can see, it's a Daiwa TDM reel. It's a 312 model and it's sort of standard for this type of fishing that I do, and same again throughout most of my setups. It's either going to be TDRs or the TDMs, which I'm starting to favour over the TDRs. The line I've got on it is £6 Daiwa sensor line, and same again for most of my fishing. If I'm doing any form of feeder fishing, it's going to be around about the £6 sort of bracket with regards to the line. What I'm now going to go through is how I actually set up the rig and what sort of approach I'm looking for. Well, you'll notice I've got my main line here down to a quick safe bead, and then I've got a 7.5 hook length to a size 14 QM1 to a bait band on the end. What I've also got is a Guru, it's a 3/4 ounce weight or lead weight itself, and you'll notice, if you can actually see on the line, is this part of the line here is actually twizzled, and what I've done is I've actually twizzled the line and put 2 double overhand knots at the top. Reason for being this is where the bomb's going to move potentially a lot of the time up and down when I'm starting to move in and out with regards to obviously casting, so therefore what I don't want is I don't want it to break. Also as well, putting the knots and twizzling the line, what I've done is I've alleviated a potential weak spot down by the quick change bead other than where my hook length sits itself. With it being twizzled, obviously the tension is going to go through the twizzled line, and then it's going to meet up at the 2 overhand knots up there. As you can see, the bomb itself is free running. 9 times out of 10 the fisheries you're going to go to these days, a lot of them insist on free running rigs, therefore that's the reason why I've got that set up today. However, at this venue you can actually fish a bolt rig, but just for ease of manoeuvre and for ease of obviously trying to look at the rig itself and potentially the fishing you're going to be doing, it's all going to be done on a free running line. So that's the actual setup itself. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the baits that I use. For this type of fishing I tend to use an 8mm pellet, and you'll see in a moment that I'll actually go higher than an 8mm all the way up to a potential 12mm pellet on the hook, depending on the size of the fish and also where I'm fishing. The standard size, because it's fishery owned pellet, is just a normal coarse 8mm pellet, nice and light. And looking at the actual texture itself as well, these won't potentially take too long to break down once they hit the bottom. The baits for the hook then. I carry a variety of baits for the hook. As you can see here, I've got 4 types of pellet. As I was saying, I go from 8mm all the way up to around about a 12mm. That's a 12mm halibut pellet. I have got no dramas of potentially fishing that here should the big fish move in. At the end of the day, what we're looking for is we're looking for a target bait, a sight bait for the fish to move in on. Cast your mind back to these ones. That's what I'm feeding. As you can see there's a massive difference potentially in the size of the pellet that I'm going to be putting on the hook. Here, as I've already mentioned, it's fishery owned pellets to feed. However, what I can use a selection of my own baits or pellets for the actual hook itself. These ones I've got here then, these ones that I picked up from Viaduct, and it's like the local feed pellet down there, and say they're around about the 8 mils. Quite tough and potentially don't break down as quick as the actual fishery owned pellet does itself. Also I've got some spotted fin 8mm pellets, same again, slightly a bit more oil content in them, which tells me they're not going to break down as quickly as potentially the coarse pellets we're using here. So that means I can potentially leave my bait out longer, and they're also heavier as well, so I can get them down to the ground. And then good old one, these ones are scented. All I've done is I've got a bit of glug and just put them in a glug and just left them for a week, and these are Scopex, got a nice sort of sweet smell to them, and potentially if I'm struggling I might put one on and see if I can catch some fish on that one. But that's the baits that we're going to be using side of things. What I'm also going to go through as well is I'm also going to go through a couple of different types of sort of hook bait you can employ on the hook, especially those hard days, especially when it starts to get towards winter time. You want something which is a target bait which is also visible. First one that I always go for, always go for an 8mm ringers boilie. At the end of the day, I can use this in various applications, whether it be to actually drill it and pull a bait spike through it, or I could use a bait band, or what I tend to favour now is the Guru sort of bayonets, where I can actually force a metal pin that's already attached to the hook, and I can fish it in that sort of way. Other one as well, just for a change, I've also got red. I find that red and sort of white work quite well, depending on the colour of the water and depending on the conditions. As say, winter time, I'm always going to be looking to fish normally white. The other one I've got, I don't think it needs much introduction with regards, obviously everybody sort of knows about it now, is the Ringers chocolate orange wafers side of things. I was sort of one of those that weren't sort of taken up on it straight away. However, seeing the results that potentially people are getting and where they were fishing them side of things and what they're actually designed to do, I sort of took them up and we started putting them through a few sessions and out on the bank side of things. The whole idea of these is they're sort of a neutral buoyant sort of boilie, so to speak, and depending on what type of hook you're going to use is depending if they potentially float or if with the actual hook weight itself will then keep it that neutral buoyancy. I find with these is a QM size 40 or QM1 size 14 hook on a bait spike will keep these just floating just on the bottom, but it's got a neutral buoyancy, so they're not actually pinned down to the floor themselves. But that's another good change of bait should you be looking for a sight bait. And remember, especially this time of year, you're potentially going to get quite a few fish. However, come winter, you're probably only looking for 4 or 5 fish, potentially win a section and win a match. Therefore, a sight bait and a good one to use. Right, with regards to casting, what I've done is I've gone and used a pellet bander, and I've basically fitted an 8mm pellet onto the hook. And I've already mentioned I'm using a 7.5 inch hook length. When I first started the session, I started off on a 15 inch hook length. The reason why I changed, for the simple fact is what I was getting quite a few snatch bites, so that sort of led me to believe that potentially the fish were picking them up and then ejecting it before I could actually strike the fish itself. What I did is I moved down to a 7.5, and the 7.5 seems a lot better. Right, with regards to casting then, all I simply do is I swing out, put my hand, grab the line itself, open the bail arm. Now this is already clipped up, so what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to cast it around about 20 odd metres, 25 metres to the front, and you'll notice how as I get towards where the bait's going to land is I'll actually bring the rod back to try and feather it onto the clip itself. All I simply do is I line myself up at where I need to fish, bring back, nice gentle cast, bring it back and then dip your rod straight away. What I've basically done there is I've hit the clip that I'm actually fishing on. Let's say it's around about 20-25 metres. As soon as it's gone down, as it's landed, I've just pulled it back slightly, let the rod take the tension, and then I've dipped my rod straight away. All I'll simply do now is I'll actually start to wind on the reel and start to tighten up. What one of the common faults is people, when they've got the rods dipped all the way down, what they'll do is they won't be able to see, and they'll be in that position there. All I simply do is I just grab hold of my line and just pull it back. I can then sit it on the actual roost itself, slacken off a bit more, and there we go. So at this moment in time now, what I've done is I've cast out, I've hit it on the clip, thus sending me bait slightly forward in my bomb. I've then dipped my line, I've dipped the rod, get the line down to the bottom, and then all I've simply done is just brought it up nice and gently. As I say, if you get too much of a bend in it, all you simply do is just pull line off the spool itself and then rest it in that position. All I've now got is I've got a nice tight line to the bomb, and I've not got it to a certain point where it's bending all the way round. All I'm looking for is just for that tip now, is just to shoot round. And same again, it might shoot round, it might come back at me. That's the reason why I've got the little sort of curve in the rod. So if it does sort of drop back, then I can respond to it straight away. Feeding then, all I'm going to simply do with regards to feeding is I'm going to grab 3 or 4 pellets. Don't like to push out loads in one go, because what you'll find is potentially they're going to go all over the place side of things. What I'm trying to do is keep it in a nice sort of area, so then I can try and get the fish into that area. And I'll probably fire about 2 or 3 pouches out, just keeping it nice and low if the wind's up. And all I'll simply do is I'll wait now. Once I've waited around about 5 minutes, what I'm potentially looking for now is I'm looking for indication side of things. Potentially I'll get quite a few liners. If I get quite a few liners, I've still not had a bite, say after 5 or 10 minutes, especially in this sort of time of the year where the fish are quite active, then I'm not scared to actually come back in, throw my lead back out, unclip, and reel in 5 turns and then clip up. Because potentially what I've got is I've potentially got the fish this side of the lead, whereas the lead's there, so that's why they keep bumping into the line side of things. So if I come back, say 5 or 6 reel turns, potentially I can then hit a fish from there. Right, what I'm going to talk to you about now is the hook lengths, how I store them, and what type of applications I use, whether it be a spike, whether it be a band, or whether it be a bayonet. What I normally do is I normally keep them in one of the Guru boxes, hook length boxes. You buy these from your local tackle shop. Basically open it up, and what you've got is you've got a load of EVA spools. I just grab one out, and what it allows me to do is it allows me to keep hook lengths in a fashion without having to move them up and down potentially in a hook length box. So if I want to fish, say a 2 foot hook length, I want to fish a 1 foot hook length, gives me that ability without having to kink the line itself. I mean, here we've got 019 15-inch band size 16 extra strong Guru hooks. If I look through the box, I've got QM1s in there, and I've got different sort of lengths. The same again if I'm fishing the method feeder. What I also do is I also keep all my 4-inch in there as well. If you look here, what we've got is we've got a QM1 hook. You'll notice coming off it is you've got a pellet band. Also notice the bit of silicone that sits behind the shank of the hook itself, and what this allows me to do is, it's one of the eye tied itself, is it allows me to potentially present that pellet slightly different to how it would potentially sit now within the water. All I would simply have to do is just move, I can get it round, here it comes, like I've done there. And what I've potentially done now is I've actually moved the band slightly round towards the bend of the hook, so it gives me a sort of a different approach should the other approach not work side of things. This one, as I say, is 15-inch long, and this is what I started the session on, and I say what I've basically gone down to is a 7.5 on that one. To actually fit a pellet, it's alright, it's not gone round yet. To actually fit a pellet within the pellet band, what I've got is a pellet bander. All I simply do is I insert the 4 forks into itself, and then that allows me to open it up to that sort of distance. All I simply do then is grab a pellet, I stick it in and pull it out, and there you go, there's a banded pellet. Nice and simple. Another one you can use then, I mentioned them, the bayonets. And as you can notice there, same again, it's a hair rig sided system. However, what you'll notice now is it hasn't got a band attached to it. What it's got attached to it is it's got like a metal bayonet side of things. Same again, it's got a bit of silicone on. This is not one I tied, unfortunately. I bought it from the local shop. But you can see with this one's a 4-inch one. So this would be something that I would potentially use for a method feeder, fishing a boilie, or say for example a hybrid feeder, fishing a PVA bag, with the ability to be able to obviously mount a boilie onto it itself. I'll give you a quick demonstration of how simple it is. All you simply do is you grab your boilie, grab your bayonet, and then just push it straight on. And there you go. And same again, you would obviously have ground bait around that. You could leave it loose. If I had a longer sort of hook length, around about 7.5 to 15 inches, then I wouldn't be scared to stick a boilie on and fish it a bomb. I guarantee you that ain't coming off unless the fish takes it side of things. So they're like the main two that I would potentially use for this style of fishing. So there we go. If you notice what I'm doing now is I'm basically keeping the rod as low as possible. There's no need to have it up in the air. All you're going to simply do is you're just going to put more strain. It's no different to fishing a pole. Potentially the heavier elastic you're using, potentially the more it's going to sort of pull. All you simply do is get it into a position where you're ready with your net. Lift it up, straight in the net. Job done. Not big by no accounts, nice little fish. You can imagine potentially on a busy day you have say 20 of them, you're going to have sort of a half decent weight. Get him in the net and we'll see if we can get another one.
Right, we're down at Chris's peg now and he's showing his catch of what he's had on the bomb today, which is
bomb weight. This is brilliant.
Unbelievable.
60 odd pound in there.
Two fantastic nets, mate. Thank you very much, obviously, for doing features today. It's been great.